I wouldn't leave the office till midnight or 1 a.m. If I left before the office before 1 a.m., people would be like, what are you doing home? I was definitely in that mindset where, I hated weekends because that meant people expected me not to work.
Yeah.
And I hated sleeping because I thought that was a waste of time. And I never really took time out.
Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. In this show, I will introduce you to ideas, concepts, and mindsets that will open your mind to a new world of well-being and personal life growth. Through eye-opening interviews, we elevate people in the world doing amazing things for humanity and share insights that will shift you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate version of you. Hello and welcome to another episode of Things You Can't Unhear. Today we are going to be talking about entrepreneurial success and the costs that come with it. When it comes to success, we've always been told that it involves financial accomplishments. And in a way it's definitely true, as it provides freedom to live life with less restrictions. But do we ever really stop to look at the effect that that's having on our mental health and our quality of life? So many entrepreneurs work themselves to the ground and end up creating a life that isn't what they had imagined at all when they set out to create this business or venture of theirs. They're burnt out, they're anxious, they're stressed, and they have little time for rest and self-care. In fact, it's been reported that 70% of entrepreneurs report experiencing mental health concerns. Now, today we have Alex Zaccaria, the co-founder of one of Australia's fastest growing tech startups, Linktree, who is sharing his experiences of a quick growth environment and what effect it has had on his life, from his mindset, his perception, and his overall health. Now, for those of you who don't know, Linktree is a homegrown startup success founded by brothers Alex and Anthony Zaccaria and their mate Nick Humphreys in 2016. And if you haven't seen the link pop up on hundreds and hundreds of Instagram account bios that you're following, I'm sure you soon will. The team set out to tackle a simple but pressing issue that Instagram only allows one link in bio. First world problems, yes, but it has helped so many people streamline their own businesses and their own accounts. Having one link in bio meant you had to continuously change that link if you wanted your audience to be across what you're currently promoting. Well, it turned out to be a great and very clever and simple idea. And fast forward just 3 years, Linktree has a host of celebrity users, including Alicia Keys, US presidential candidates, Chrissy Teigen, and so many more, and myself as of this morning. And they have seriously impressive growth stats with well over 3 million users in just 3 years. Now, the company's growth and success is, of course, super impressive. But there's another important side to the startup story that needs to be told, and that's what happens to our mental health when you are thrown into an incredibly fast-paced environment very quickly. And Alex is very open about his own experience with this. Today, Alex shares not only the success story that has come through their business and the way that it rose and grew so quickly, but he also shares his personal burnout story and the debilitating injury that resulted from not prioritizing his own health. He'll also talk about the cultural trends in startups and how to change the tide on a culture of overwork. And he'll give us some practical tips that other startup founders and employees can implement. So let's introduce Alex Zaccaria to the show. Welcome, Alex. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I want to know how Linktree came about. So you were obviously working in the agency environment and doing your thing there, just kicking goals.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had an issue one day and you wanted to solve it. So creativity came through necessity, pretty much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really did. We were getting quite sick of having to change the Instagram bio link every time we shared a post with one of our clients. We're managing artists at the time too, so for both our artists and the festivals and things we were looking after the digital marketing for. And it was at the time as well the Instagram was changing the feed from chronological to algorithmic, so it meant that people that were seeing posts, it might have been from 3 or 4 days ago, and the link in bio was no longer relevant. So we wanted to solve both those problems, and we built the MVP in like 6 or 7 hours, the very first prototype.
So were you just like, all right, we need to just create some type of little link here that needs to go into your bio, and then
Yeah,
magic happened?
it's pretty much as vague as that brief to my developers. It was, yeah, it was pretty much that, and he somehow deciphered that brief into essentially a very first version of it that we checked out. I'm like, yeah, that's basically it. We obviously did a lot more work from there in terms of branding and coming up with a name and fixing it up a little bit, but the very first iteration that a lot of our clients, or we started using on behalf of our clients, was yeah, basically almost similar to what you see now. Obviously, far less advanced and far less pretty looking. But yeah,
It's unbelievable how just a little idea like that can just pop into someone's mind and then spiral them into a whole new dimension of their career. Like you're now speaking on stages about startup companies. Like this is probably going to lead you in another direction. But I love how you know how to execute it, because I think there's ideas that can pop into people's minds and they don't know that execution phase, that next step forward.
yeah,
So many times that's happened, right?
absolutely. It's always, ideas are great, but it's always about the execution. It's definitely something I've learned. I was speaking to a bunch of people yesterday at a startup conference that they were all amazing people that had amazing ideas, and they just kept talking about the ideas. And it was like, when I'm talking to them or doing any kind of mentoring or anything like that, it's like, all right, now what's your next step in actually doing it? Go execute it, trial and error, experiment, and just do the work.
Action
Exactly.
is the only thing that's going to get you
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Now, you've grown incredibly quickly. You have 3,000,001 as of today, because I just signed
Thank you.
up.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. But over 3 million sign-ups on Linktree. And I want to know that pivotal moment when you realized that this had legs, and when you're like, hang on, we're onto something here. This has the potential to be huge. When was that moment for you?
Yeah, we should have noticed it a lot earlier, certainly. I think, even when it was 1 million users, we're still running it as a side hustle to the agency, which is now looking back on it pretty silly. But it's also been our journey really that's enabled us to grow it that sustainably and gotten us to where we are now. So I wouldn't change it. But when we first noticed I mean, even in the early days when we just started putting out for clients, we started almost immediately seeing other users sign up that we had no idea who they were. And so we immediately knew there was something, or at the very least, there were other people that had this problem that we were trying to solve. But it was certainly when someone put it up on Product Hunt, which is a tech app platform that people share apps on, and the community there got really excited about it. And about a week after that, Alicia Keys.
Oh, just Alicia Keys.
Just Alicia Keys. And at the time we had to integrate. We had a bell that basically went off every time someone signed up, like literally every sign up.
Could you imagine that now? Don't still have that, do you?
That day we turned it off because it just
God.
started going. But we did see her name come up. We're like, that can't be real. When we investigated, I'm like, oh, it's real. Okay, so we did a little happy dance. And we're in a co-working space with them at the time, and everyone else is looking at us like, what are these guys doing?
They're having a major win.
We're pretty excited about it. But certainly from there, when obviously coming from a music background, for it to be validated by such a huge artist and someone in the space that we had essentially built it for, that was really exciting, and obviously made us realize that, there was not just other people that had the problem, but obviously people that would think we were doing it well, and there was obviously of value to them to start using it. So from then it went scaled massively in the music world. I think it was Eminem and Tupac and The Killers and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it just kept going, the Grammys, and that was obviously the music space, and it's grown into a ton of other verticals since then.
Yeah.
Music is only one part of it now.
So how many signups are you getting a day now?
It's over 10,000
A day.
a day.
Globally.
Globally, yeah.
It's
Mainly,
incredible.
but very large majority outside of Australia. So that's definitely been one of the challenges, and also the most exciting thing, being based in little old Melbourne, and
Yep.
most people not recognising that we're in Melbourne.
So
or in
it's
Australia.
generally a free app that people can put onto their profile, but you've got a paid option as well. Did it generate income immediately after you launched it, or did it take a while to sort of start generating that income and that flow?
It was over a year later that we put a pro version in, a paid version. So really it was again, it was just to solve our own problem. We never had any ambitions to make money from it. It was really just to make it a free version, hopefully help people solve this problem. Maybe if it goes well, we'll do some kind of payment version of it. But it was really about a year later, once it really had legs, lots of people signing up. We worked out a good way to be able to monetize it. We've always made a um, really big push to make sure it doesn't have advertising on it. We
Yeah.
always wanted to make sure that it was a really nice product to use that isn't collecting people's data or doing any kind of advertising. And so we really went down that path of paying for extra features.
So it's still your own private company.
Yeah, there's 3 founders, myself, my brother, and our friend Nick.
And are there ideas to expand publicly at this stage, or you're just wanting to keep it within your own network at the moment? May have an investor.
We're really proud that we've been able to bootstrap it and fund it ourselves. And yeah, there's no real plan to do anything like that. We're cash flow positive and we're able to execute the vision. We're growing really quickly. So at the moment we're just really focused on the vision. We've been able to help everyone, people of not just Instagram. We're no longer just an Instagram platform. There's people using it from across LinkedIn and Twitch and Twitter, and TikTok's a big one, and Snapchat. It's really just a unifying place online for you to be able to connect all your social platforms, and that's really our vision to continue executing.
I love it. It's just such a simple idea that has just blown up.
Yeah.
But I mean, success is very much defined in this type of way in our culture these days, and it's also very important to note, and you are quite open to talking about this, that a startup culture and working in this type of environment of quick growth, almost like overnight growth, can spiral you into a negative mindset or a mental health condition that catches up with you.
Yeah.
Share your experience and how you felt, when you realized that things were getting very intense for you.
I think the biggest problem was that I didn't realize that until well after learning the hard way. And now, I guess from that experience now I know the signs and I can start picking it up in real time. But certainly back through building the agency and then building Linktree is, working so hard during the day with a really scaling agency. That agency is almost 50 people now. It went from 1 to 18 employees in the first year of existence. And
1 to 18 in a year.
Yeah, and it was continued that growth for the following 2 years essentially. And then whilst we're going home and working on Linktree as a side hustle at home and just working, or actually not even, sometimes not at home. I wouldn't leave the office till midnight or 1 a.m. Would be pretty. It'd actually be
Unhealthy.
If I left before the office before 1 a.m., people would be like, "What are you doing home?"
Wow.
So at that time, that was just like, cool, got hard work ethic. Of course, these are the things you need to do to get ahead. Then I was in the States, went to South by. I was basically working, but tried to tack on a holiday at the end, which would be the only time that I would ever try and tack on a holiday, and it would really be just to please the girlfriend.
Yeah, fair enough.
I was definitely in that mindset where, I hated weekends because that meant people expected me not to work, and I hated sleeping because I thought that was a waste of time. And I never really took time out the only time I would take time out would be really just to spend time with my girlfriend or my family.
But you were enjoying the work, weren't you?
Loved it.
Loving it.
And I do love work. And it's not out of that's the thing I've always this is what I enjoy doing. And it's not about financial gain or anything like that. It's just about actually wanting to be successful in my own right or being able to build something.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, like what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So when it meant I didn't get to do that, I would have to spend time doing something other than that. It was not necessarily what I wanted to be doing. And for me, that's what I kept telling myself. That's like, I enjoy doing it, so this is relaxing for me. Without recognizing, I guess, other things in my body may be needed or my mind needed. We were in the States. I was going for a walk in New York, first day of the actual holiday part of the trip, and turned the corner and fell to the ground in agonizing back pain. What I found out later was 2 slip discs and a torn disc.
Wow.
Thought it would get better for some reason in the States. Kept trying to push on. Got to the point where I just didn't leave the hotel room for about a week.
And there goes your holiday, right?
I was gone. My poor girlfriend trying
Yeah.
to just look after me. We ended up, I still went to New Orleans, which was part of our trip. kept hoping would get better. Um, all the food things that I wanted to try there, my poor girlfriend had to just go out and bring back to the hotel, and eventually got to the point where I called insurance and just said, "Get me home,"
Yeah.
which turned into a whole ordeal at the hospital. They gave me tablets that didn't agree with me. Ended up on a nice medical evacuation out of the country. Ended up back in Australia, and yeah, began the journey of getting better, which obviously was a very physical thing. I was bedridden for quite a few months and trying to find the right help. But I think the biggest thing was the mental toll that it took on me. I think, yeah, obviously I realized very quickly the link between like lower back pain or immense pain like that and your mindset.
Yeah.
And for someone who's always so incredibly positive and nothing really affected me, that really, really affected me.
It's interesting, isn't it? Your body will give you hints, and then it will be just like, nah,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
You're stopping. You've got no
absolutely.
choice.
Yeah, there was, and that was, every time I talk to a doctor, I'm like, what caused this? And even just the not understanding what caused it is really what got to me. I'm like someone who, like, I want to know why it happened, and then so I can make sure it doesn't happen again. But no one could explain it, and that just kept playing on my mind. And then also nothing was fixing it. It would just like I would keep seeing different doctors, and it would just and would so like not having that seeing that light at the end of the tunnel also kept playing on my mind. So at that time, I was just found myself like making deals with the devil almost. It was like if you make my back better, if my back can get better, I will just like will give up all my success in the world. I don't care. You
Yeah,
can
I
have my
just need to be
businesses. I
pain-free.
just want to be back. And it really made me notice when I think back on it, like you are nothing without your health. And I can't build a business or be good to my family or be good to my friends if I don't have my health. So that becomes number one.
It's so important.
Whereas when everything's flying and you're really busy and your health is important, obviously, but it's just like gets pushed further and
Yeah.
further down the list for
I know
sure.
when you're in that momentum and things are flowing so well and you're succeeding and you're feeling great and you're having win, 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 and then time just catches up with you
Yeah.
and it comes to a crashing halt. And it's you look like you've recovered
Yeah.
now.
Everything's great.
Yep, and you've obviously learnt from it, and that's the main thing. I think when things happen to us like this, if we take them and we learn from them, then we've actually gained from it in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's something I really look back on and go, I actually now would not change that whole experience. Obviously, I'd prefer to not have gone through that pain, but I've looked back on it, that's really changed my mindset on so many things. I now make sure I leave the office before 7. I don't work on the weekends, or if I do, it's just for a small amount of time. I've re-engaged with I've never lost my friends. They always stuck by me, but like actually am just really excited
Putting
about spending
time
time with my
into it.
friends. And
Yeah.
I don't view that as like time away from work. It's like I'm really present. I'm really mindful that I'm spending time with my friends or with my family. Phone doesn't come out at dinner table. I'm like really mindful when I'm with my partner, all those kinds of things. So, and that is all just it's not I don't have to force that anymore. That's just something my mind really wants to do, and I've really recognized that. And the biggest thing really is for me, I've noticed what my stressor signals are, and I'll start to and I think that's probably what I was missing beforehand. So when I start to feel stressed, I can at least go and do things that are going to help me de-stress. But
So what are your stress signals? What do you feel when you start realizing that you're not feeling great and you need to step away? What are your physical symptoms?
I think so. I feel like hot.
Yep.
I feel
Bit of a hot sweat.
yeah, kind of just like feel inflamed and
Yep.
warm.
Yep.
Mental clarity. I just start like not being able to make decisions easily. Those kinds of things. And just like lethargic and tired. Whereas normally I actually still have a lot of trouble sleeping because I've got too much energy. I'll go to even if I'm being in bed at midnight, I still just lie awake. But if I start to find that I'm really, really tired, even like 8 or 9 p.m., then I know I need to go do something to relax.
Something else, yeah. And so what do you do now? What is your self-care routine? How do you relax and how do you unwind?
I wish I had a better answer for this because it's still a journey for
I
me.
can
I'm
give you some
still.
tips.
I would love some tips. I meditate now. I would love to stick to that a lot better. We've been focusing a lot on actually at work, and we've brought a lot into the workplace now that has been really important for both me and obviously for our team. We've done the science of breathing and taught the team how to regain their breathing, how to actually breathe deeply. So we found that quite a lot of the team, whilst people love meditating, quite a lot of people found that they found it difficult to meditate or to actually drop into that Zen state or get the benefit out of meditation. So kind of went down a bit more of a scientific path around the science of breathing and how breathing in certain configurations and timing your breath in certain ways can help you with anxiety and stress relief. So now we're aiming for basically once a day at 10 a.m. we stop the whole office and everyone breathes for 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
Really deeply. We've done, from a product point of view, we've done like product integrations with the Smiling Mind, which is a not-for-profit mindfulness app.
Yeah. That's run at my kids' school, actually. So
Really?
it's an awesome organisation.
Yeah, they're amazing. And they're just around the corner from us. So all our team members get free access to that, to the enterprise version of that app, and they are encouraged to use that, obviously. And we try to always bring mindfulness into the workplace. But also, I guess, through our reach with the Linktree, we really wanted to make sure we spread the word about it and get other people using it. But for me, we also work yoga into the workplace. We do that twice a week. We do encourage exercise. If people are there past 6 o'clock, we're asking questions about why you're here.
Yep.
And we don't want to put extra pressure on people. If people feel like they need to get their work done to feel less stressed, then that's okay. But if we definitely look down the path of if they're constantly late, then we've done something poorly as management, and they shouldn't have to be doing that. So we really try and instill that.
I really hope a lot of
I
other companies, and I know there are many out there, but there's obviously many that aren't as well, who are catching up to this type of integration when it comes to health and well-being.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. We're spending so much of our time at work. Yeah. And if we're fulfilled and happy and centered and calm, we're going to be more productive, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
go home and get some rest.
Exactly.
And relax.
And
and even if
recharge.
it's not rest, it's go and do something you really love doing. And hopefully you love doing your work. But from what I learned, even though you love doing your work, it's still work, and there's other parts of your mind that you need to keep active.
Work-life balance.
Yeah.
So when you get up now and talk to people, what tools, what advice do you share? What can you tell the startup world from what you've learned?
Yeah, it is so hard because I'm so torn around when people will say, how do I do I do a side hustle? Do I quit my job and go start work? And my advice generally from a startup business point of view is, you need to prove that the business works first. You need to prove that people are going to pay you money for this thing before you quit your job. So that means go home and do the work. So my advice is generally still do that, but recognize the signs of being tired and being stressed and being burnt out. Like, you don't have to not hustle. And I think it's important for you to have that work ethic and do it, but recognize the signs way earlier than I did. Now, when I look back, there were signs along the way where it was like, start resting, or do something, or go take a holiday, or exercise more, or learn to meditate, and just kept ignoring until my body just forced me to rest for 6 months.
How did you feel when you're in that state, when you were sort of pulled away from work quite quickly and couldn't participate?
I thought I would have been really stressed about the fact that I wasn't at work, but I was actually, it was just this kind of like state where I was like, all right, guys, I'm out, can't do it. And just my whole body and mind was just like, I hated work, didn't want to do anything, wanted to rest, needed to rest. But it was also just so focused on getting better, so focused on what I needed to do to get better so that I could get back to living my normal life, I wasn't particularly stressed about the fact that I wasn't at the office. I felt really bad that my co-founders and my partners and other people were now all of a sudden dealing with my workload. I was pretty stressed about that.
Like it was your brother and your friend, hey?
Yeah, sorry, soz mate.
Yes, soz guys. I'll be back when I can.
Give me 6 months, but now I can just deal with my work until then. But luckily, hopefully I can pay that back now, and I'm super healthy now, and I've still got a lot I need to do to keep my back from that happening again. So the physicality of that part, but from a stress point of view, I've certainly noticed whenever I do get some kind of pain in my back, it's if I look at the stresses around it, it's like, I'm really busy at work, I haven't been eating well, those kind of things. It's not because I've gone and done something physical like twisted my back or bent over. It's always something to do with my mind, or it's because I'm in a stressed environment.
So there's, obviously a lot of information and books out there that share that mindset as well, where it's Louise, hey, you can heal your body, you can heal your life.
Yeah.
You're a firm believer in that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, mind causes most of our physical problem.
Yeah, there was a book that actually helped me probably 80% of the way once I worked through a lot of the strength part of helping my back, I was still in all sorts. And it wasn't until I had read this book that basically I was still like, couldn't walk up the stairs, could hardly sit, was still in a lot of pain. And I read this book and I basically ran back down the stairs and I like jumped on a bed and was moving almost immediately. And it was like that much of a
So
shift
what
in my
book? What?
mindset.
Tell us about it.
It's called Healing Back Pain: The Mind Body Connection.
Wow. Okay.
It was built. It was written in the 90s by a guy called Johnny Sarno, and he built it. He'd written it to other doctors to encourage them to keep studying the connection between the body and the mind, because at the time, the entire medical board would shun anything that suggested the mind and the body were connected as pseudoscience. But he writes about things like placebos working, so obviously the mind must be playing a part. We know that stress causes stomach ulcers, so that's the science already admitting that there is a connection between stress and physicality. But he essentially talks about there's so many structures in the spine, and with the advancements of modern imagery, as soon as someone has back pain, they go to the GP, they get an MRI. If you MRI the entire population, 94% of them would show discogenic problems, so disc pain or disc problems, but most people just don't feel the pain. So it's a completely normal part of life that your discs deteriorate. But just because you got back pain, you got to get an MRI. The MRI shows that. You say, okay, you've got a disc problem, you need to go get surgery or you need to go do these things. But quite often it could just be a sprain or could be one of the other 14 structures in your back that have a problem. And it's really just actual movement. The other thing that generally for a long time doctors were saying was bed rest. But it's the absolute worst possible thing you can do. There was just a lot of things I think in my mind was from a lot of poor medical advice in the States, and along the way of seeing people that didn't necessarily give me the right advice. My mind was just running in circles of this is what it is, this is what it is. It's not getting better because of this. I need to do this. And it was just all wrong. So yeah, that really changed my mindset, allowed me to see the positivity in it.
How did you come across this information? Is it something that you researched yourself and went out looking for?
Yeah, I was searching for so long. Like I was looking for whatever I could find that would help me explain things. But there was someone in there. Actually, I ended up back in the States because my brother was getting married in New York. And I was like still in a lot of pain. It was a huge mental thing for me to overcome to even get back on a plane to go back there and have that pain. But it was something that I went over there, did the wedding, ended up meeting with someone for work. I was like limping around and he said, what's wrong with you? And he told me about the book. He said, I had the exact same thing. I was about to get surgery. I read this book a week before surgery and cancelled the surgery. So I read it and similar things happened to me, and there's thousands of reviews of other people kind of happen. And I've told, so many of my family and friends. And so you really start to notice how many people have back pain, maybe not as severe as what I got, but it certainly helped them. And then the similar thing happened when I was there. I hurt my back again. And I called insurance again. I was like, me again?
Remember me?
Remember me? I need to get back home. And that was it. They actually didn't ask any questions.
They're going to stop insuring you soon, I'm sure.
I was like, premiums are going straight up.
Intriguing stuff. Well, I'm so grateful that you actually speak about this and not just about the success in business, because it's something that needs to be said, isn't it? It's something that we need to really start talking about more, because otherwise it can just go under the radar and people just think it's this massive, great success story that's, grown so quickly and you're absolutely killing it and you've got 3 million subscribers in 3 years. Yeah. But there's so much more to it, and it's wonderful that you are up there and talking about it. But you are speaking a lot more now too. So tell us about what's new with you and how you've shuffled things around at your workplace and what you're physically doing now.
I'm almost seeing it as a duty of mine to really be able to spread that word and to help people recognize this signs earlier. And I don't have all the answers. I don't know what they should necessarily be doing. So the advice part of it's hard for me still until I really work out. And I think it's so important to recognize what works for you. But at the very least, for founders who are working really hard to grow their businesses, I think it's important to keep doing that, but also recognize those signs. So if I can spread the word and help people recognize that, then that's great. My work is still, I'm really focused on Linktree now. So my brother Anthony's looking after the agency. I'm really focused on Linktree full time, which helps in itself, that I can really just focus on one business and put my whole heart and mind into that.
Yeah.
And I'm out talking and doing, these kinds of things, which I really enjoy, and able to talk to great people and meet other people, which is cool. So it's definitely a big part of my week now. But for the most part, I'm just down in the trenches with the team, building the product and finding ways of reaching more people.
You spoke to 2,000 people recently, didn't you?
Mm.
Tell us about that.
That was probably heading me back into the direction of stress that I didn't need. But it's also really
You're aware of it.
yeah, very aware of it. Did the right things around keeping myself less anxious, but it was a really rewarding experience. It was cool to be able to tell our story, for that many people to care about and actually listen to it is exciting and humbling. And yeah, just a preparation for it. I mean, it's these things for me, they take time out of the workday that I could be spending on building the business and building the product, and that kind of starts to wear at me a little bit. But also, if it means we can get out there and spread the word and tell the story and work this kind of stuff in as well, then all for it.
Do you generally work this kind of stuff into your speeches? Like, did you do that when you spoke recently at Startup Grind?
For the most part, yesterday at Startup Grind, I didn't. It was very much about just the growth and more so like design principles and product principles and what we've done to really focus the product on what it is and why we've done it in certain ways. It was less about how we personally grew and didn't have that much time. But for most other things, it generally comes up, and it's kind of what I mean by it. It seems to be coming to the fore a lot more in just general conversation.
Yeah.
Most interviews and chats I do, it comes up. I get invited to talk about a lot of things with it, so there's a lot more conversation about it happening already. I spoke at the F Up nights a while ago, which is pretty much 20
What's the
minutes.
F Up nights?
I mean F word up nights.
Yep. Right. Okay.
It's really cool. It started in Mexico. It's a night where people talk about their failures.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
And people go and watch people talk about their failures to learn from their failures. And it's in 300 cities around the world now. And the Melbourne chapter of it, they did a mental health version during Mental Health Awareness Month. And I just literally spoke about this.
That is so interesting because
it's really awesome.
people have hidden their failures for so long.
Yeah.
And this is just purely focused on talking about your failures.
Which is what's so awesome about it. And for the people that get up, obviously it's all power to them in terms of the way they get up and actually can be open about their failures. And generally it's like I caused this issue on the server and it all went down and I stuffed up and this is what you shouldn't do. But for the mental health one, it was very much about, but people with mental health issues and how things have, how things have progressed and what's caused them and helping other people learn from, which are obviously really important. I spoke about how my F up was not so much about the hurt in my back. Like, I think, there's people in far worse situations than I am in, and I'm very grateful that I was able to help myself and get myself back to health.
Yeah.
But my F up was obviously my attitude towards my work-life balance and towards my health before that actually happening.
Really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So just before we do leave, I did want to ask you one more question. How do you define success?
Yeah, well, it actually reminds me of at the retreat last week, we had a facilitator that was talking about if you want to be successful, you need to think about, you're the sum of 5 people that are around you, and you need to think hard about who you spend time with, and if that means you need to make some hard decisions. And most of the team took it as, I'm not going to go abandon my friends or family just for money. And it was really interesting that people immediately, the facilitator never said the word money, if you want to be rich. He said the word, you want to be successful. And success, that word is just so synonymous with,
isn't it?
Just financially successful. And it was just had to realign everyone and go, success is whatever success is to you. And if it's just happiness or being able to just pay the bills and live however you want to live or whatever it is, then that's success, and it's still, the principle still stands. So that was really interesting. But for me, it's definitely not it's obviously being financially stable, but it's not about being crazy any of means. But for me, I think for me, just the freedom and the happiness to be able to do whatever I want, for me to be able to help others and my family and who's around me, and for me to be able to, if I want to work today and come in and spend time with all the amazing people in our team, I can. If I want to take the day off, I can. I think for me, that's success, to have that freedom.
Absolutely. And of course, what you said earlier, your health is your number one priority.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alex, for being here today. We can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm Maritza Barone, and thank you for listening to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and if something really profound came up for you that you want to share, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear or on my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if someone you know will benefit from something that was said in this show, make sure you share it with them too. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with what's next. And if you can spare a few seconds, please rate and review the show on iTunes, just so other people can find us more easily and quickly. And as always, my friends, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.